to DDOCast, episode 558, recorded live on May 18th, 2019. We're your host, the Damsels. We are Lessa Soft Jade and the one and only Mythery Inferno. In this week's screenshot, Clubber Lang wonders if the wisps inhabit the larders. I'm screwing this up already. This is a bad show already. Stop.
Kobold still hates you!
Start over. This is why the Damsels will never take over hosting the DDOcast. Here we go.
Okay.
This week's screenshot of the week, Clubber Lang wonders if the wisps inhabit the larders of Castle Ravenloft. In our 415th screenshot of the week, thanks, Claver, for sending in this week's screenshot. And I'm looking at this screenshot, and, hello, that is one fantastic-looking loot. Have you seen the size of that thing? It's so big. And his hair, and his eyes, and his thighs, and I'm just saying.
Down, girl, down. We must focus.
Oh, right. Focus. Right. You mean I have more show to read. So.
Wait a minute, I understand why you're controlling it.
He's an SMR! What do you want me to do?
Is he an SMR?
I think so. He's got the eyes for it, right? Don't they have the glowy eyes?
They do, but other things have glowy
He
eyes.
looks really tall, too. And that codpiece. I mean, this is a family show. What?
Family show. Holy moly.
Bam! We are never going to be invited to do this ever again.
It is after midnight, though, right?
It really is. You can't feed Lessa after midnight. Anyway, yeah, we like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons Online nearly every weekend.
What do we like to do about Dungeons & Dragons?
We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons Online nearly every weekend. You can't make me laugh, dude. This is a professional show. I'm a professional.
What's your profession there, Mythery?
I couldn't hear what Saba just said to me.
She wants to know what my profession is.
Oh, I'm not allowed to say this is a family show.
Right. You can watch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website at DDOcast.com. The DDOcast is hosted by Cyber Ears, the awesome podcast hosting network. Shows are usually available within a few days of recording. The next show will probably be next weekend, and you can stay updated by following us on our social media pages or our website, DDOcast.com. With our calendar.
Okay, and we do have a comment in the chat line.
Codpiece Inspector.
Yeah, I was going to get there.
That's a great screenshot. Just saying.
That must be her part-time job.
That loot is amazing. It's mad. Alright, let's talk about DDO Chronicle, eh?
It's mad. DDO Chronicle 332. How about that?
Yeah.
Community Spotlights. D&D Splat was back for D&D Night on DDO Stream, sponsored by Fantasy Grounds. Find out what happened when the party went down a path even goblins wouldn't go.
Yeah.
I remember that because I was there.
Yep, spoiler alert, everybody gets crushed by rocks.
Oh my god.
Rocks fall, everybody dies.
Rocks.
So what happened?
Rocks with mines.
Well, you were there, you know what happened.
That's right.
Yeah. Refresh my memory.
Oh, there were rocks, and they were all over us. Sort of.
They were after us.
They were after us.
Right, boulders.
Yeah, boulder.
Be thinking about it.
There was a lot of boulders rolling
Animated
around.
boulders.
Yes.
You can find that on Twitch,
It's
TV,
a good session.
video stream. Some slashes and dots in there. High Lords hosted a Riding the Storm Out teaching raid on Saturday, May 11th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. To nominate a player, email ddo@standingstonegames.com with the subject line, Community Spotlight. If you could bring any one inanimate object to life, what would you choose?
I've been thinking about this a lot. Since I read the show notes. I've been thinking about this a lot. And I still don't have a good answer. So I want to know what Saba's answer is, and I'll just, copy that.
An inanimate object.
Yes.
How about something like... No, now, see, I wasn't thinking about this at all.
Yeah, me either.
All I can think of is... Don't blink. I mean, blink.
Oh my god.
Oh, no. You do not want to bring that to life.
Why don't we think about this and come back to it at the end of the show? Because this really requires some thought, I believe.
It does.
I didn't look at this before we started either.
All right, we'll come back to it.
So
we're going to have another question later, but
Yeah,
we'll have
there's
two
two questions.
All right.
We'll have to
So we'll
scroll
go
down and look at that.
We'll go to Guildhall. Hello everybody on the Caneth server. I am the guild leader and a representative of the Adventure Pack, formerly a Danish guild, now Scandinavian. We've been invaded by our Nordic neighbors. We were the 7th guild to hit level 200, and I certainly consider us top 10 in terms of fun, fellowship, and willingness to help. We aim to enjoy ourselves. We have players of a varied mindset, from casuals to endgame oriented. And most of us are TRing regularly. We sometimes get together for raids and have taken all but killing time in guilds so far. Some of them severely low man. We try to help guildies, but we prefer if you can handle yourselves at times too, by joining, creating LFMs, and just be a part of the Caneth adventure scene. We own the second biggest ship with lots of great buffs. The name should suggest we have most of the content, even though we are mostly free-to-play premium players. So if you are from Scandinavia and looking for a guild, ask any of our members for an invite. Sprague. Click here there's a link to view the forum post. And if you want to nominate anybody from Guildhall, email ddo@standingstonegames.com with the subject line Guildhall to get your guild featured.
Cool.
That's
my
so
gosh.
cute. They're called the Adventure Pack.
Yep.
The Adventure. It's a good guild name.
Yeah.
All right, let's move into fan site news. We've got Heroes Are Hard to Find from Return to the House of Grouse, and you can read all about that. And you can also watch Can I Do an LOB MA Elite, a Freedio Special Edition. Saba? What is LOB-MA?
Lord of Blades.
Oh, Lord of
Master
Blades.
Artificer.
Okay. Well, actually, that sounds interesting. Yeah.
Master Artificer.
It's the raid in Kenneth, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Elite. Wow. All right. And Freedio Edition, and that's Psycho Blonde. So to listen to DDOcast 557, Alts versus Past Lives, you can also do that. And you can watch On the Edge of Evil 1.2 D&D Night on DDO Stream. You can also listen to DDO Players News, episode 221, Stick with the Gloom. And you can read Raids Week 121 from Mickey's Delirium. Watch the power of making Warforged often prevents it with DDO people folks. Is that supposed to be DDO players folks? DDO pull folks?
I thought people too.
I think it's Polish.
Oh, Polish. But it's PL. Okay.
Yeah, it should be
I
PO.
stand corrected. I'm sorry. I'm an unpaid employee. Anyway, I'm an intern for the DDOcast. Anyway, to watch DDO Wiki Talk with Technical 13 Schumacher, you can also watch that. The second I was proofing the show notes and I read that, I started watching the latest DDO Wiki show with Technical 13. I don't know why. He's the Bob Ross of DDO. I really like watching him.
Ooh,
all right, and
nice
to watch
PBS reference.
Thank you. I know you're a PBS fan. All right, to watch Brock and Friends together again for the first time. You can also watch that, and you can watch Bard Life with Doug Glendower. He is
I
before
like it
us.
better without the comma.
Yeah, right? All right, and you can also watch DDO Sunday with Alex and Lynn. And you can watch Warlock DPS Para Heroicas, question mark? Oh my gosh, this is Spanish? What? What?
Dia de Reaper con Hibernum. Hibernum?
Hibernum? That's fine.
Hibernum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Nice.
All right, let's talk under Let's Talk Shop. The weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream was all over Sharn, which I've been avoiding, so I did not watch it. I confess. All right, it's your turn, Myth. DDO Chronicle 333.
DDO Chronicle 333. Community Spotlights. Axel has Sharn welcome. Shepard has a quick tour of the city of Sharn. DDO Central wraps up his look at the Mist of Ravenloft for his guest article on BioBreak. And to nominate a player, email contact@standingstonegames.com with subject line Player Spotlight. And Saba J lied, there's no question here.
Nope.
There's no question.
Oh.
So what
It's
inanimate
the-
object are you going to animate?
Not at the end of the tour yet.
Oh, right.
There's a question after my guild hall. Hand of Death is a level 200 guild in Cannith with gear and help for newer players. This guild also has a large number of experienced players for help and advice. Find the guild on Cannith and ask to join them if you are interested. And it's the same. Contact standingstonegames.com with the subject line Guild Hall to get your guild featured. There you go, Myth. Question. Mythery?
Oh, what is it doing down there?
I don't know, man.
All you have is a small rock. What do you do? Oh,
You have to read it out loud.
Not to yourself. And I answered it in my head as well.
it was a really good answer.
It was a good
too,
answer.
just so you know.
I have the answer for the first
You are
question, by the way.
standing in front of an angry beholder.
Yep.
All you have with you is a small rock.
This
What
one,
do you do?
this is so easy.
I'm going to throw it behind the beholder. So
You're
it
going to throw it behind the beholder, try to
Down.
distract it.
makes a sound. Yeah.
That's not a bad idea. That's better than my idea. You want to know what my idea was?
You just throw it in its eye.
I swallow the rock
Okay.
and die. I'm going to take your fun away.
Well, if you only have one rock, throwing it behind the beholder is not. He has one eye, so only one eye will track that rock, and you're still dead.
Well, maybe if I can ricochet it off a few things behind them, it'll
So
sound more than
Les's
once.
idea is good because if you swallow that rock, you die.
You get out of the fight.
There you
I
go.
don't want to die.
So what you have to do is an Amistad situation. Have you ever seen that movie, Amistad?
Mm-mm.
Where
No,
the guy he's fighting a lion and all he has is a rock. That's his story. Well, that's not what the movie's about, but that's the story that he tells because he carries a lion's tooth around, and he killed the lion with just one rock. So I think if you threw that rock just right, maybe into the beholder's mouth and got it lodged like right in his
Make him swallow
glottis,
rock.
exactly, the windpipe right there, boom, block the airway, the beholder suffocates, you're done.
Yeah. Okay.
How many 20s you got to roll for that?
I don't know. Lots.
Natural 20s,
Well, at least one.
at least.
What about you, Saba?
Yeah, Saba.
But is it just a regular rock?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just a rock,
And
man.
it's small.
In the chat, we've got somebody, Foxy J,
There you go,
going,
see?
it's a stone of good luck.
Exactly, see?
It's not just a rock.
Or is it a small ion stone?
Yeah. I bet he could swallow that good.
Or
There you
I
go.
won't lose any levels because I'm holding it.
It's a beholder snack. So you can just hold the stone and whack him to death with it.
Whack him to death with it, yeah. And go up to him and tie all his eyes in.
Tie all his eyes like a present, like a bow.
Since I'm a sorcerer, I'm just going to teleport the hell out of there.
It's just like, I'm leaving this fight. I'm done. P.S. I still have the rock.
Yeah.
Still have the rock. All right. I have the answer for the other question that you asked.
Oh, yeah?
About the inanimate object that you would animate. And my answer, I forgot it while I was talking about the other thing, actually. And it was a good answer.
All right, so while you're thinking, DDOcast says, throw it in the beholder's mouth and hope it death.
Wait
a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah,
said that.
that's the first. That was my first idea. But if you animated the rock, like if that was the object that you animated, then you could get the rock to do all the dirty work for you.
That's true.
And
we're putting
kill
these
the
two
beholder.
questions together.
Yes, we're gonna smush them together.
Now we're back to fantasy grounds.
Yeah. We can just do anything. As long as the DM says it's okay. It's fine.
All right, how about we animate our cars like Herbie the Love Bug?
Herbie the Love Bug was a troublemaker, though. Are you really ready for that kind of responsibility?
I don't want a troublemaker. I want a good Herbie the Love Bug.
You know, they're probably like people. Some of them will be good, some of them won't be.
Some will be ornery.
Yeah, some of them are old
DDOcast
and
says
cranky.
you all do have experience with animated rocks now.
That's true. From our Fantasy Grounds session.
More experience than we wanted.
For sure. I could have done without that tassel. That was really, that was a crazy fight. All right, shall we move into fansite news?
Sure.
Alrighty. The Damsels of DDO head into House Caneth. What?
We did?
Did we
We
head
did.
into House Caneth?
Well,
Yeah, we did. We did that guy that made multiples of himself.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Multiplicity.
We sure did.
Yeah, that guy. Multitude of Menace. That's what we did.
That one, uh-huh.
We did the Multitude of Menace. Yes, in our latest
About that.
DDO stream. DDO Players prepares for Sharn in their most recent show. DDOcast discusses alts and past lives with
guys
guests
listen to that?
Cordovan and Chai.
Yes.
All right, now I need to go listen to it.
I listened to that one.
But I saw it come up in my queue, and I was like, I don't need to know about that. No, I need to go listen to it. All right, and Schumacher helps you contribute to the DDO Wiki in the latest Wiki Talk. DDO Polish
PL brings the
PL
Polish language, see?
brings a Polish language stream to the DDO stream
I think
every
it's funny
Tuesday.
that he was technical 13 in the last fan site news.
I know, right? And he's Schumacher. That is pretty funny. And Even heads into the inferno of the damned in her recent Sunday show. Remind me to say something about Even in a minute.
Okay.
Hibernum, am I saying that right? Runs
Sure.
Reaper, and you can watch the latest there. Alex and Lynn play DDO every Sunday afternoon on Twitch, and you can watch it. And Samus Grobo follows the noob into Sharn. So, if I were going to choose someone to take over the DDOcast show, because it's a very long-running, prestigious show, my first choice, if I were to get a vote, I don't know that I do, but if I were to get a vote, it would be Even.
Oh.
Yeah, Even note. I think.
Say that again. I was thinking about inanimate objects. I didn't hear
What?
the first part of what you said.
What? What? This is a DDOcast myth. Focus. This is a professional show. This is a big deal. We're in the big leagues now. If you were going to choose someone to take over the mantle of DDOcast host from Patrick, my first choice would be Even Note. That would be my first nominee.
I see.
I think she'd be amazing.
Okay.
So
I never gave it.
I wish that I could have a comment.
you wish
but
that
I've
you
never-
had.
I don't know.
Had an
I never
opinion.
talked to her on a podcast, so I have absolutely no frame of
She's
reference.
been a guest several times on several different podcasts, including ours. Yes, she has. She's been in.
She has?
She has.
I
Who
don't
are
remember.
you? Do you know where you are right now?
We need to have her back on because I don't remember.
Oh my god.
Okay, maybe.
All right, we need to move on because this is not the Damsels of DDO.
Oh, it was like years ago.
Yes, it was.
All right, we're ready for
5 years
news.
ago or
It
something.
was. All right. So in the game, the big game news is Mastermind of Sharn expansion. Discover the mysteries of Sharn. Explore one of the most iconic locations in the Dungeons and Dragons Eberron campaign setting. Navigate the power struggles between the rich and powerful as you hunt from the highest towers of the city to the deepest depths of the cogs. Learn more at DDO.com/Sharn. Players can begin their journey to Sharn through a transport NPC in the Stormreach or by using the pass available in the Ultimate Edition of the Masterminds of Sharn expansion. 9 story dungeons, 8 per dungeon area, and 2 raids. Note: only 1 raid has been released with Update 42. The second raid will be released later this year. New and notes. Glasses. This came out with Update 42. Favorite Soul bonus feats now have clearer and precise words. Some animation issues for male and female tieflings have been. Non-scoundrel tieflings no longer innately fiddles for bard. I know a lot of people were annoyed that non-tieflings were using fiddles for their bard songs.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it because I thought Tiefling Scoundrel players are now proper. Tieflings, both male and female, now have a second dance. Tieflings now have their
You're
own.
cutting out.
Yeah, you are a bit.
Oh, sorry. Tiefling now have their own taunt animation. Tieflings now have their own laugh emote. In the DDO store, a new item has been added to the DDO store called Call of Destiny Elixirs. These potions allow a character to earn experience in one epic destiny while another is active for up to 3 hours per potion. Note: you need to have unlocked the appropriate epic destiny before you gain experience in it. Redeemed item can be used to select which epic destiny the potion should apply to, available in the DDO store Epic Destiny Tools category. What do you think? I know Myth likes the idea. Epic.
Well, I'm going to
No.
use them.
No, you don't like the idea, but you're going to use them.
I'm not going to complain about them, and I'm going to use them, but I don't really think they were needed. I wouldn't have asked for them.
Right. I wonder who did ask. I know a lot of people did ask for them. They were tired of having to go into an off destiny to level it up.
Yeah, and I understand that, but I think there's a lot of things that you just have to go through to get stuff,
Right.
It's sort of the way it is. Life is like that.
Yeah.
You do stuff so you can get
Yeah,
to where you
that's
want
like
to
me
go.
getting- Like, I'm doing those Paladin past lives. I should have to play the Paladin to get
That's
the
right.
Paladin past lives, right?
Right. So I would do the destinies to get the credit,
Right.
that's why I say I wouldn't ask for them, but I'm certainly going to use them since they're there.
Right. And I noted this on our show that you cannot search for these items in the store. You have to go under the character Epic Destiny Tools category to get them. You can't do a search for them in this. Enhancements. The Druid's Savage Roar now correctly applies its saving throw when 3 stacks of Maul are active. Savage Roar now correctly uses the highest of either Wisdom or Strength to calculate its DC. Druid Tier 1 of Force Nature and Tier 5 of Nature's Protector now grants the following in addition to its current effects. Your attunement to nature is emboldened. Your druidic oath is no longer broken by wearing metal armor or shields. Tiefling's innate fire resistance and infernal resistant enhancements now properly update their values when you level up without needing to relog. Myth is going to like this one. Sorcerer Savant's air elemental form is now less visually obscuring. I don't even know what that means, Myth.
You know,
what does that mean?
Veruca is an air savant, and she's pretty much in that form all the time. And I have not had a problem with it.
Oh.
And, you know, stuff like that usually bothers me, so apparently it hasn't been that bad.
Alright, and then this one. All Sorcerer Savant elemental forms no longer erroneously drop on death.
Oh, that's nice.
War Chanter Core 3 Song of Heroism is now untyped rather than a. And then Reaper enhancements. Reaper's imbuement now gives the listed amount of fortification bypass. And Reaper's steadfastness now gives the listed amount of fortification. Items. A new generation of filigree has been introduced, found in Sharn, and content released after Sharn. These entirely new sets offer exciting ways to customize your minor artifact and sentient weapon. And somebody else is going to talk about minor artifacts later. Older filigree will continue to drop where it did before. Oh, somebody's going to talk about the bad things about the problems with minor artifacts. So here, a new kind of equipment is now available called a minor. Minor artifacts are powerful items that go into characters' normal equipment slots and can have filigree slotted into it. Some other details. Each minor artifact can only be equipped into a specific equipment slot. A character may only equip a single minor artifact regardless of slot. Minor artifacts can be placed into the sentient weapon UI and can consume named items just like a sentient weapon to gain XP. Unlocking filigree slots for a minor artifact costs half the XP that unlocking a filigree slot and a sentient weapon costs. Each minor artifact has a different number of maximum filigree slots, and the number of total slots can be adjusted by consuming a sentient spark. All minor artifacts available in Update 42 has 3 maximum filigree slots. A minor artifact cannot be consumed by a sentient weapon or another minor artifact. Filigrees slotted into your minor artifact also counts toward meeting the requirements for set bonuses of filigrees slotted into your sentient weapon, and the same filigree slotted into your minor artifact and sentient weapon do not stack with each other, although both will count towards set bonus requirements. The tooltip for the item effect Ghostly... Oh, that's all about minor artifact. The tooltip for the item effect Ghostly now correctly states that it grants a bonus to incorporeality rather than concealment. And filigree and filigree set bonuses that grant fortification bypass now grant the listed amount. And then quest, a couple items here. The Salve of Stone to Flesh in the Eyes of Stone now has a cooldown of 5 seconds instead of 30, and that's pretty nice.
Wow, it's a big difference.
It is a big difference, but remember we used to have to cycle between characters and players, and now we don't have to do that. Nudge a pair of hobgoblins in the quest Caverns of Shog to help them not become one with the stairs. Sealed in Amber, Madame Ava is no longer found at the quest entrance. Her objective and dialogue have been altered. Sealed in Amber, the number of enemies has been reduced. Skills. The concentration skills DC check now only uses one-tenth of the incoming damage to increase its DC. Spells. The Obscuring Mist Darkness effect has been fixed. Fireballs and the domain fireball spell descriptions have been updated, and I guess you need to check that out, Myth.
Yeah, the fireballs are pretty important to me right now.
Yep. Spawn screen.
Been updated?
That's what it says. Spawn screen no longer scales its number of targets based on caster level and instead affects all allies in the area of effect. And Wail of the Banshee now has its signature whale sound effect back. And miscellaneous. Yeah. Shield guarding hirelings have updated sounds, which I'm going to have to listen to that because I've been using mine lately. The engine will no longer limit virtual memory usage as harshly on systems which have sufficient virtual memory. The game should properly take advantage of virtual memory resources available to it. The character UI sheet UI now uses abbreviated class names and has moved all 4 class fields onto the same line. The character sheet UI now displays your offhand double strike underneath double strike, and work has been done to eliminate various sources of server performance issues. All right, so those
Amazing.
are all the update 42 things.
Are we going to talk about minor artifacts with Myth?
Yes, you
Minor
are.
artifacts. Linabelle. Hey all. We've been reading your feedback pretty avidly. I've got a small update for you to keep you guys in the loop. Next patch, currently targeting next week, but things can always change. You can expect the following changes. Each end chest in Sharn will have a small chance to drop one of the minor artifacts available in the Masterminds of Sharn expansion pack. This is an independent chance than your chance to find named loot, but will still be affected by ransack penalties. The saga will continue to have a chance to drop 3 artifacts, but it will randomly determine which 3 are available. This is done via 3 independent rolls, so it may show you more than one of the same artifact, but it will always show 3 total. Hope you guys have a wonderful Thursday, and thank you for your feedback, smiley face. She has too many commas.
Oh my god! Have you been attacked by commas? So what I'm hearing is, with these 3 separate roles, is that Draculeta's never gonna get what he wants. He's never gonna get it. So the thing to do when you're bad at something like the RNG, I guess, is to lean in, you know? Just... never gonna happen for me. Never gonna get it. Not gonna happen. Not gonna get what I want. Alright, let's talk about bugs. Sharn known issues. Couple of known issues to be aware of. The quest best laid plans can be put into a state that blocks completion of the quest if the player loops through the basement before speaking to Victor Dabonair. Really? That's a name?
That's what it says.
Okay. The Saga reward givers for both the Cogs and Sharn Story dungeons grant 2 reward windows. The first contains the expected appropriate rewards. The second, which is not meant to exist at all, grants a choice of a few standard level 1 random loot pieces. The armor Turncoat and Wildwood outfit do not display their jumpsuits on the character until they toggle their armor appearance on and off. What? How would you even know to do that, I guess? But they fixed that. Alright, fine. Known bugs
No,
or
they
whatever.
haven't.
No, they haven't fixed it yet.
fixed it.
So you have to turn your
Yes.
armor on and off, otherwise it's an Emperor is not wearing any clothes situation.
That's with other things, though. I've had to do that with other outfits.
Really? I've never had that issue. Maybe I just don't have enough clothes.
Yep.
Don't have enough outfits. You can never have enough outfits. Alright, character ears character ears will clip through the silver dragon hat. Well, that's definitely a problem. Yeah. Some
Does it depend on the
races.
size of the ears, you think?
Yeah, I guess so.
I was gonna say,
Elf ears will stick up
pointy
higher, yeah. Some races will not display the bronze dragon scale plate armor correctly. The shards of Mechanus? Mechanus. Help me. Mechanist.
Mechanist.
That's what I said. I said Mechanist
There you
first.
That's good.
The shards of Mechanist filigree are not currently assigned anywhere in the Gen 2 filigree tables. We'll correct for a future patch. There is a future patch planned to reduce the difficulty of the raid too hot to handle. Aw, it's being hit with the Nerf bat. Get in there while you can, Letus.
No, it's too difficult right now. They're going to make it easier later.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to get in there while you can, so you can have your bragging rights. I did it before they hit it. With the Nerf bat. There you go.
Got it.
Job done. Bam. The epic Sharn story Dungeons saga is not currently able to be completed before a character is at least level 28. We intend to correct this issue as soon as we can. Yeah, indeed.
PSAs.
Right?
I know that's not supposed to be out loud, but I'm curious.
I'm curious, like, what's a PSA? What's the PSA?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about
Bonus days. DDO bonus days bring you a strengthened numbers weekend. Get a plus 5% XP for every member of your party other than yourself now through May 19th.
So I can get a whole bunch of hirelings?
Says every member of your party.
Cool.
Doesn't say they have to be real. That doesn't sound right, though.
Hey, man.
Store news. There are new items. There's some sales. Let's see, sales. Anniversary code. That is not a sale. Dice baby. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And cloak razor, I don't understand. Hack and stash. Get 20% off. Slayer boost, loot boost, treasure hunter elixir, select shared storage now through May 23rd. And the weekly coupon gets you a free lesser restoration potion, 5 of them, with the coupon code RESTORE now through May 23rd.
All right, let's talk shop for some reason. Masterminds of Sharn has been released. Really? No. What? Really?
No.
You can watch the launch trailer. And interested in hearing the soundtrack to Sharn? Yes, I was interested in hearing the soundtrack to Sharn. I listened to it and actually found a little bit that might be useful to the Damsels of DDO in the future.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can find that on YouTube, so that's linked in the show notes. And Cordovan heads into Sharn and answers your questions. Of course he does, because he's Cordovan, and he answers everything. Even when he doesn't answer. Yeah. So, for the latest weekly lunchtime live stream, you can watch that. Masterminds of Sharn is being noticed. You can find articles by Bleeding Cool, MMORPG, Massively OP, and MMO Huts. MMO Huts. I said that twice. Anyway. Yeah. I don't understand what all this is down here. DDO videos, blogs, forum posts. That's not for me.
Right.
Anyway, Masterminds of Sharn Ultimate Code giveaway. To enter, submit a picture and a brief sentence depicting why you should get a ticket to the city of Sharn. This is the contest Patrick was talking about earlier.
Yes.
Fun fact, folks. We didn't know about this until today.
We can't enter.
So, we're ineligible, apparently. So, the Masterminds of Sharn Ultimate Code giveaway. So, you will enter with DDOcast?
Submit a picture of yourself.
Submit a picture of yourself.
And tell us why
brief
you should
sentence.
win.
Why you should get a ticket to the city of Sharn.
It doesn't say submit a picture of yourself.
It says submit a picture. It doesn't, like a selfie, like a character selfie.
It doesn't say that. It just says submit a picture.
Yeah, it doesn't say that.
Oh, yeah, it does say submit a picture. It doesn't say of yourself.
But since
we're adding things to the
we're
contest.
Pick,
Am I fired yet,
maybe you should
Patrick?
think about being yourself.
Maybe since you're thinking about pictures, maybe take one of you.
DDOcast just entered and typed in submit a DDO picture.
Well, that's what I meant, your character. I mean your personal self.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh, God,
I really
no.
don't
No,
care
it could
what
be
your
any
personal
kind of
self looks
picture.
like, trust
Any
me.
kind of DDO picture.
Yeah.
Any kind of DDO picture.
All right. And say, why should you go
Oh,
to the city of
God.
Sharn? That's the important thing, I think. The
Right.
sentence about why you
Yes.
should be admitted into the city of Sharn. And then maybe you
Yes.
could win. Entries must either be emailed to DDOcast or as a comment on this show's DDO forums post. This is a contest. And Patrick, the longest running host of the DDOcast, has given this responsibility over to the 3 most irresponsible people in the game. What were you thinking, dude? I'm not even done yet. Winner of the ultimate code will be chosen randomly from the entrants. The Damsels will each pick their favorite submission. Wait a minute.
Keep going.
I can't. I'm doing something now. The Damsels.
She's chewing gum and trying to walk. Hold on.
I can't stop laughing. I literally.
Ding.
Who added this? Who added this while I
He's
wasn't
not-
looking? The Damsels will each pick their
Patrick.
favorite submission, and each of those submissions will win a 500-point code.
Right?
And we're ineligible to win.
It was in the email.
That
You
sucks.
read it.
Email that I totally read every word of. Anyway,
And Patrick says you didn't say no when he asked.
he asked.
Yes, he asked.
You did.
You may only enter once, but you may resubmit. What?
does
Any
that mean?
pictures? I don't know. You may only enter once, but you may resubmit. Okay, so you can resubmit and enter an
In case
entry
you
that
think
you've
you
already
got
done.
lost.
And once you enter pictures, then we can use them for whatever we want. It's not yours.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Any pictures you submit may be used by DDOcast and or SSG. Contest ends Memorial Day, May 27th. We have to judge a contest, you guys.
Yeah.
We
that's
literally have to judge a contest.
That's
this
why I
is
said we
amazing.
can't Enter.
I feel drunk with power.
That's why I think they should send a picture of their character. They don't have to, but I think it would be
Definitely.
Like-
I definitely want some crazy stuff. Like
Wearing
as soon
something
as I was
cool.
reading, as soon as I was thinking about this competition, I was thinking about all the screenshots I've taken over the years that I've been playing DDO, and I have a really nice one of a dragon attacking the market, not the marketplace, the harbor. A white
Well, that's
dragon
why
in the harbor.
You cannot enter this content.
Yeah.
No, you
Well,
can't.
there you go. Yeah, because that one would have won. It would have been the one.
cool.
Yeah, it would have been the winner.
Fierce Fred says he guessed he should not have hit you with so many pumpkins and stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Yep, you're out.
I'm out.
Won't pick you.
Fierce Fred off the list. You're not going to Sharn, buddy. I have ultimate power.
Good.
All right,
the
so-
guy at the gates looking, nope, your name's not on here, sorry.
So everybody understands the winner of the ultimate code is going to be chosen at random. So you have everybody has an equal chance of getting the ultimate code. But the 500 point codes we're going to pick.
Yes. Love it.
All right. Want to support the show? You can visit our website, DDOcast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. If you have a DDO-themed webpage, or you Twitch DDO and you'd like to be featured on our website, email us at ddocast@gmail.com. Hit us up at ddocast.com for show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff.
If you want to be part of the show, have a comment on this episode, have a question you'd like to hear us answer, want to complain that you never ever want the Damsels to host the DDOcast ever again, Or if you want us to host whatever. If
probably
there's a
won't
topic
work
you'd
anyway.
like to discuss, it won't work. It won't work. We've tried to get fired before. If you want to just say hi, leave a comment, email us, ddocast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media and follow us for the latest cast updates at DDOcast on Twitter.
We have no clothes.
We don't have a close.
We do have a lot.
I'm gonna pay for
Patrick
that one.
says weird since they seem to have so much fun. We do have a lot.
Right, we do have a lot of fun. All right, thanks very much for joining us, guys. And since we don't have an official close, I'll have Mythery do her thing.
Close window.
All right, thanks very much for joining us, guys.
You win Dungeons and Dragons Online.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us on DDOcast this week. We're continuing our discussion on Reaper and where it is in the game currently. We're having a lot of fun. This is got some more fun stuff to talk about today. I'm your host, Patrick. With me this week, we have from the Highlanders of Malakir, we have Nimvind and Voodoo. And then we also have Arcot from Lava Divers on Kyber. Welcome, guys.
Hello, everyone.
So we've been talking about Reaper mode and what it looks like and where it is currently and how we think it kind of fits in with stuff. Last time we were really kind of talking about the challenge of Reaper mode, there was Gaxion in the chat was kind of commenting about how that challenge is created. And I kind of wanted to get some the vibe for you guys. How do you feel about this? And what he was basically saying is that what he doesn't like is how they create the challenge by essentially suppressing player power. I just kind of want to get an idea of like, how do you guys feel about how they achieve the challenge? We're talking about like reducing player damage, the healing penalty, self-healing penalty, that kind of stuff. Let's see if I can anything. Enemies having more PRR, MRR, that kind of stuff. What do you guys kind of feel about how we get the challenge that we have?
So the alternative then would be to just give the monsters higher save. No, it's not higher saves, but more hit points. They would be able to do more damage to us. Honestly, to me, it's six of one, half a dozen of the other. I don't care one way or the other.
For me, I feel like this. Okay, I have to say this in a nice way. The difference between normal and elite is that the DCs of the traps are higher. The saves of the monsters are higher. They hit harder. They have more hit points. The difference between R1 and R3 is they have more defenses, So there's that, but we also get nerfed ourselves. It's harder for us to do damage. I know this from my times having 1 to 8 Reaper points, that it is really difficult to DPS certain mobs and
Portals
as a
and Shroud
melee.
come to mind.
Yeah. So but there is a point. There is a peak at this mountain where you're just doing immense, like for me, Reapers are fragile. They hit hard, but they're fragile to me now.
I
Like
would agree
I
with
can
that.
I DPS them faster than most champions.
Mhm.
But that's at a certain threshold, and so it's really hard when the mountain rise ascension is in front of your face. All you see is stone hard wall, but there's going to be a point where you can see the sky, if that makes sense, and cake.
Sure.
Yeah,
Voodoo-
whatever challenge they lay before us, it's we definitely we can argue about, is the challenge the right kind of challenge, but this is what they put on our plate, and for me,
Sure.
the challenge is tackling that challenge. And so I'm not really that concerned about, is it the right kind of challenge. It's that's the challenge, and I'm going to try to overcome it.
I feel like the biggest challenge in Reaper mode is the increased champions and the Reapers. It really is putting entropy into a dungeon. You just don't know what you can go in the same dungeon, the same skull 5 times and have at least 4 complete different experiences in the same room.
Big
And
time.
the entropy is where I like it, and that's why I kind of am totally for Severland's idea of introducing different kind of Reapers and hopefully different champions in R6 and up, because then that really adds a wild card. And a wild card like me likes to fight other wild cards.
I don't know that they need to increase to like expand the champion list. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but it feels like the champion list is varied enough. I like what he was saying about the the Reapers and having different experience with the Reapers. But before we get to kind of talking about that, I would say like when you talk about the challenge, the things I like about how they did the challenge in Reaper and kind of using the handicapping the player is I think it's an easier scaling thing. Because when you're talking about scaling for 10 different difficulties, right? This idea that you would be able to just achieve your scaling by adjusting mob statistics, I think that's a little dangerous. I think my propensity for disliking one shots is pretty well known at this point on the show. Like, I don't think challenge is get hit by a basic danger and die. Like, that's not challenging me. You should be able to survive a hit occasionally because you're gonna get hit. I think that like by suppressing a player, you're doing two things. One is it's easier to manage and balance, I think. And two, I think it's a little more even. And what I mean by that is if you're just reducing, say at R10, I don't know if this is the number, but say at R10, player damage is reduced by 70% to start with. That's going to bring more people more in line with each other, right? So the guy that's doing 1,000 damage every second compared to the guy that's doing 200 damage every second, right? If you're reducing that damage by 70%, you're bringing them closer together. So I think there's a little bit of a balance thing in there. So, and I think for me though, really, I think it comes down to like, what's the alternative being more hit points, they do more damage, which they do to a certain extent, but like that's not really a direction I want them to go in. So I'm okay with the direction they went. I do like the self-healing penalty because I do think it gives more value to teamwork and coordination and building a balanced good party. So I'm okay with that in a sense. Although I think I would probably appreciate maybe if potions were exempt from that. Because in the grand
Scrolls.
scheme,
Yeah.
ah man, scrolls. I think that's a questionable thing. But I think potions. I mean, here's the thing: like a Cure Series potion is not giving you a ton of hit points.
Yeah,
to begin with.
But scrolls aren't really helping you all that much either. I mean, they're not subject to meta magic feats and
See,
spell
that's
power and all that sort of
Well,
stuff.
they do get
That-
enhancements that
that's
increase
relative.
their effectiveness.
That's relative. A scroll really does not mean Johnny Doolittle and legendary, but in heroics, it's actually still pretty. That's how I still feel in heroics is just heal scrolls. So, but like, if you have 4,000 hit points and you're in like a raid or an R10 legendary or whatever you're doing at 30, 200 more hit points. You know what I mean? You're healing yourself, like trying to get that scroll off, getting 200, and then sitting there for like 14 minutes while you heal up for the next group of mobs. I kind of wish that there was kind of a thing that separated the rules of legendary to heroics. Just kind of like how Epic Ward separates mobs from heroics and onward, because without no one's gonna want scroll and wand mastery at level 30 because no one's gonna you have cocoon and all that anyways. So like I feel like at the end just give us scrolls, Jesus. Like, but in the beginning scroll, when you're just getting a heal scroll, it's really overpowered if you really focus on your self heal app. Like I said, like most of my tunes have like 180ish 150ish at level 15, and I get almost a whole heal from a scroll on R1, uh, still getting 90 points per scroll on R4 or 5. So
Sure.
that's a lot when you only have 1,000 hit points or low or less.
But I think it's a good mechanic, right? Like in terms of Reaper mode is not intended to be geared towards soloing. It's intended to be geared towards groups challenging themselves and having. And I think it given where the game had been progressing, I think it's great that we've given healing others more of a emphasis, and I think that
Yeah,
promotes good fun gameplay, right?
I almost like for a while there, I almost saw it kind of like an alternative mode, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
not an extension to difficulty as much as it is kind of like what it would be like to get in a pen and paper group where you really pissed off the DM. Maybe you took his girlfriend or something, or took her husband,
Wow.
and you just sit there because
What
like
are
the
your pen
dungeon's
and
trying
paper
to.
groups like?
Wow, geez,
They're
yeah.
really bad.
Drama City.
They're really bad. I can't even talk about them. Forget
You just did.
yeah, well, no, not specifically, but like I have been whatever. So going back to Reaper mode, it's different than casual to elite, and per se that it's just DDO. But Reaper mode is DDO plus Reaper mode,
Mm-hmm.
where you want a group because you got in the bad side of the DM, and which is funny because Delirious is Gary Gygax, right? Imagine pissing him off.
One thing in the chat that I think we're talking about like how they make the difficulty. Let's jump into one of the things that a couple things they've been talking about is, and we've kind of touched on a little bit, is one, charms not really working as intended, and two, more reapers, right? So let's kind of chat about that kind of stuff. So what do you guys think that they should do about charms?
Personally, just up to DCs. I don't think they should make charms not work. That's they already do the things like they basically make our evasions not not work and so forth and so
Sure.
on. I it wouldn't surprise me if they made charms not work, but they shouldn't do that. They should just up the DCs of the Reaper mobs so that so that it can still work if you really work on making your DCs high enough. But and they shouldn't be as accessible or as easy to charm as they are now.
I don't think they should change it because like the original use is that when you charm it, the mob lose its reaperness, right? So you charm like a hobgoblin, and it's just a regular hobgoblin. Let's say an elite hobgoblin in a reaper dungeon. So at that point, you got like a circle of death, right? You charm a group of mobs near a reaper, and the reaper's just gonna mop those mobs up because
Mm-hmm.
they're not even reaper mobs, and then that takes away an enchanter's boss DPS. So it's still useful getting to the boss, charming a group of mobs. They become weak, they get destroyed. You still run past them. Uh, how it is now is that it's you charm a group of mobs, they work for you, and they beat up the boss. So either way, if you go for as intended and as broken, it's still very beneficial. Maybe raising the will saves, but then you affect anything else that's not enchantment based, that's a will
Mm-hmm.
save dependent. So it's actually kind of fragile, right? Like you got to get in there in a scalpel and kind of, I feel like that would be more giving them more work to fix it and to make it work um in a way where repromote's still challenging and such, and still have um, the player's enchanter's base needs met. But do we really want to give DDO people more work when they're trying to come out with things like Sharn and other expansions?
Well, no, we want
I
them to
mean,
finish Sharn and then do this work.
ooh, there's just so much work. So
Sure.
there's a new rate, a class coming out, a new variant. So like for me, I feel like Reaper mode's really good. I feel like they should add to it or make a separate mode if people are really having difficult. I really don't think they should be wasting too much time trying to fix Reaper mode as per se. They should put more time adding to the game in general.
Sure. So in general, you think Reaper mode's in a really good place.
Yeah, like I said,
That's fair.
R6 and up should have more entropy, but more chaos. But I'm not. I don't see an urgent need to. I agree with Severinlin pretty much when he says that he sees us getting into a mold, kind of like a routine, and he would like to switch it up. I would like it switched up too, but I don't think that's top 3 priority list at all at this
Sure.
point. I feel like there's so many ladders that need to be fixed.
So we're talking about charming. What do you think about this? What if they made it so that in Reaper mode, if you charm something, it lost 50% of its DPS while it was charmed? Do you think that would kind of find a happy medium? Because I think I agree, right? Like there's this issue that charming mobs is probably too powerful, especially when you start getting to higher skulls. But if you just make them like lose all the Reaper benefits, a Reaper or another mob is going to turn around and just clock them, which is almost the same thing.
I feel like what they need to do is add more things that confuses mobs. Like there's the confusion Eldritch Blast, there's the Spirit Wolves from the Druid Wolf form that confuses mob and that flags them from attack to attack allies, which makes people more like I notice when there's a Druid Wolf and there's a Warlock in the group. I tend to charm less because if they are confused mobs and you charm them, they're flagged to attack me and I can't hit them. I can't hit like so at that point you just have a freaking
Dog
bomb.
pile. Yeah.
Yeah, like you just have a Reaper following you around hitting you and you can't do nothing.
You know,
Add more
when
confusion.
back in the day, when they first added like Wail the Banshee, remember it used to kill everything, and then they realized, and then you could literally cast it every 3 seconds, killing everything, and they were like, okay, this is too powerful, and then they increased the cooldown time, and then we got all the way up to a freaking minute, and not only did they increase the cooldown time, but they changed it so it's not kill everything, it's just kill up to 2 things every 2 seconds, up to what, 6 or 8 things. So
Sounds about right.
maybe they need to take a similar approach to charms, that maybe they need to significantly increase the cooldown and reduce the number of mobs that it can affect. What surprises me the most about charms 2+ years into Reaper mode, though, is that we can still charm Reapers. I think that's definitely OP, and I'm surprised that they haven't removed the ability to charm Reapers at this point. I really thought that would happen a long time ago. I mean, there are groups that will just keep Reapers charmed and carry them through the dungeon. When we're doing like Vision of Destruction, if we can get a Plague or Carnage Reaper charmed on that boss, it'll cut the time of that raid down, in half easily.
Absolutely.
So it's so game altering to get a Reaper charmed, and just keep healing that Reaper, which is kind of silly. I really feel like that's not really what they intended to happen. And like I said, I'm really surprised that they didn't over a year ago eliminate the ability to charm Reapers.
What if they took away the ability to heal or buff charmed mobs?
I am definitely against that.
Okay.
We have Druid Pass Lives, we have Augment Summoning, we have certain enhancements. They're there for a reason. I would like those to still be in effect.
Sorry, that would still apply, but maybe it's more like you can't heal them, like specifically a charmed mob. But
I would love that you can't cast spells on them because there's a time when some person might put protection against evil, GH, and all this other stuff, and then they get released and you can't re-charm them. So that actually would benefit the party as much as the mob. And then now you have like a create. I actually almost caused no, I killed at least 2 people in Giant Hold because I charmed a mob. I invised it after buffing it. I was a bard, and on the way away from the second seer in Madstone, this troll cleaved and killed 2 of my party members. For me, hilarious. To those party members, it was like I'm never questing with this guy again.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a tricky situation, right? Because I don't think at the end, I don't think we want to remove charms as a viable option, but I think clearly they're maybe a little too effective.
Well,
So
like even if we don't charm Reapers, like I said, they probably only have a maximum of 400 hit points. So like
yeah,
charming a light bearer troll would just frack them up.
sure. Uh, let's talk about Reapers, because and this was asked in the chat too. Like, what do we want to see in terms of Reapers? And you're talking about more entropy. What do we kind of want to see in terms of adding more difficulty in that vein of things?
Well, let's go through the scenario. You see a group of 4 mobs and a Reaper. The typical thing is if there's no champion casters, you go for the Reaper first. I would like to see um, some unique changes to that. I would like to see a group where I look at it and depending on the Reaper and the champions, I would rather do something else, right? Or maybe even completely avoid that fight or some kind of way to reward you for playing differently than we have for the last 2 years. Something that changes up the meta.
Yeah, Severlin mentioned something along the lines of, well, instead of, as the current meta is, everybody, kills the Reaper first. Well, maybe you change the meta and you make the Reaper something you want to kill last. So there's a nuke type Reaper, and you want to kill it last because, I don't know, maybe it does something to fortify the mobs you are fighting if you kill it first, kind of thing. Maybe it adds. Maybe if it dies first, it explodes and gives 50% more health to all the monsters around it. So that would be a damn good reason to kill it last.
And
So
I'm
stuff like that would be that would force us to change our behavior depending on the situation, um, you know, would be better.
Yeah, and there's many ways you could do it, like a Reaper that, depending on how many mobs around it, would explode if you kill it first. Like, if there's 10 mobs around this bomb Reaper and you kill it, it just explodes times 10 because there's 10 mobs, and then that's horrible, right? Or I was thinking, would it be cool if there was like a pairing Reaper? Like, let's say there's a Reaper that you can't kill, you can't target. It follows you around and gives you a debuff until you find its mate, like a mating. So like it
Ooh,
will
that sounds
follow the
interesting and
group,
complicated.
and then like you have to find its boyfriend or girlfriend, and then it will just go to that Reaper, and then that's the only way you can get rid of that Reaper is by like going through the dungeon looking. So like stuff that changes it up. Like it is kind of Reaper mode brings back the group dynamic great, brings back all this stuff, but it's also slowly going competitively where we've been, where we know to kill these certain mobs first and all that. I would like to see where fighting changes up. So like yeah, Reapers that we probably want to kill last, maybe Reapers that uh, makes the dungeon way more harder, and you can't kill them unless you find a certain criteria to get rid of them. Stuff like that.
I've been thinking that the if you're familiar with Lord of Blades and the Hounds, they drop a buff on pretty much everything. I was thinking a Reaper that dropped that when it died, so like uh, when the Reaper dies, it buffs everything around them. Would be kind of an interesting mechanic. And would encourage people to kill it last. I did want to respond to something. Z Wonderpuff said, these conversations never happen until top tier players reap the benefits from a system. This, I think, is specifically referring to Charming. And then once they reach a certain level of benefit, we all talk about changing the system because it's too good. That can often be true. I don't know that it is true when we're talking about Charm. I think I see where they're coming from, but I think there's objectively an idea here that charming mobs is kind of too effective, and we know from what the devs said that it wasn't really intended to be that good per se. So I think when we're talking about changing them, yes, people have been taking advantage of it, but it's also not. It's breaking the design concept and scope, and I think that's kind of why they're looking at addressing it. If we were talking about Amber Temple and changes to there, then I think that that's certainly something that would apply in terms of that, especially when you start talking about it impacting other sections of the population, right? If you're not running Reaper, and I would say, like, if my idea of, for charms, take away the ability to heal them, well, it would be great if that only happened on Reaper. I don't know if they can do that from a tech standpoint, but although I also would say that not making charms not healable is probably the least impactful of things that you have options for in terms of changing how charms work and how they work in Reapers. But I don't know.
Well, that's definitely would be a scalpel, attacking the problem with the scalpel
Yeah.
as opposed to a sledgehammer, which the SSG has had a reputation of doing, is just using a sledgehammer before trying to do things in a piece by piece basis. I mean, the initial change to the Emperor Temple was that Flimsy Firewood made, to adding all the monsters, especially the ones at the very beginning. That was definitely a sledgehammer attempt, and
Yes.
it was just an awful change.
Yes. And that's the trick, right? Like, how do you make a change in a sense that it's going to be beneficial and achieve the goal that you want without, like, completely breaking other parts of the game and stuff like that?
Yeah.
But I think I do want to say, though, that's a really good point to bring up, right? Like, and that's the danger that we have here of being all really experienced players, been playing for a long time, and one of the things the devs have to really balance is making targeted changes with a scalpel as opposed to sledgehammer, like you were saying. Like, but I think it's a good point that they were making, that we have to be careful of having this conversation about, we just need to fix this, and that will, like, completely wreck someone who doesn't play Reaper at all, and their experience on Elite. They did say, with that too, though, they can't, changes that they make in Reaper, they have to make in Elite in terms of, like, mob placement and stuff like that. So
I also feel like, okay, so like Severlin admitted it, and I don't know if it was the DDOcast interview or the players that charming is not working as intended.
yeah, I think you said
So
it both.
they know. But the thing is, if the devs know about it and they can't fix it, that means that it's not as simple as we think it is. So like when we bring up issues about certain modes or things, and they're like, yeah, that's great, and they don't do it right away, that means that it's quite a big cake to go through all those layers, and um it's going to be hard. So when they do in fact go into the enchantment problem of Reaper mode, it's probably going to come with a lot of changes.
Voodoo, you wanted to jump in here?
Yeah, so I'm all about them, adding a few new Reapers to spice things up to make things interesting. I like that idea. What I'm not really enthused about is them doing something like that to try to make it harder. There's been some talk about trying to make R6 and above harder. There's what I want to make sure is not happening is that the devs are just trying to pander or appease, like, the 1% of the 1%, the cool kids that are up there, talking about how R10s are too easy, when they represent such a tiny sliver of the community, when we still have, like, so much of the community who's still, like I was saying before, doing R1s at elite streak level. I'm not worried about trying to appease 75 people across the entire game, when the massive part of the community has a much different experience in Reaper mode.
I think that's a good point. And I think my understanding for what Sev wants to do with adding Reapers is not so much for challenge as much as it is for different player experience. Like, this idea that what he's said is and the way he's put it is, the reaction for players of seeing Reaper is kill it with fire now, or insert your method of killing choice. But I think what they're looking for from a design standpoint is, how can we introduce Reapers that give you a different experience of, you don't just outright kill it first. Like, maybe you need to kill the stuff that's around it before it. Which is why I said, like, this idea of when it dies, it puts a buff down, or what Arcot was talking about, like having a bomb go off or something to that effect. So I think that's what they're looking for more in terms of challenge. And I think what you're saying, though, of we do have to be careful, right? Like if you're going to tweak things, and that's why I like Reaper a lot, is you have this wide spectrum of difficulties for a variety of people, but you definitely don't want to catering to that 1% of 1% is not the answer for sure. And I would also tell those people, cool, so you're completing a handful of quests on R10 really easily and using cheesy tactics. Like, let me know when you complete R10 Shroud and Killing Time.
Right.
Then we'll have that conversation about it being too easy. Yeah.
I play. I don't play power builds. I like to play, niche or hybrid builds, and I'm still working up the ladder. I'm not up there doing R10 saying they're too easy. Like I'm still working up the ladder. Like I'm past a mid-skull point, but I'm not at an R10 point, and I'm still enjoying working up that ladder. And I'd like to see, a greater variety of builds be able to be successful as opposed to just these power builds.
Sure.
Being the only ones that that can do the high skull stuff.
Well, just to make a public compliment, I feel like Voodoo is very capable of doing R10 content. I seen him in action, and I think he's a great player, and you're good enough, and you're smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like you.
Aw.
Well, I am not an R10 capable player. In fact, I don't know that I could really get past R3 and R4, quite frankly.
I think you can, Arcat. We were live streaming. It was about a month ago, and a friend of ours that we know who joins our public raids. We had an extra spot. We were doing like R5 Wayloon, and I sent him a tell, "Hey, we're doing R5 Wayloon. Do you want to join us?" And he was like, "Oh man, I'm not really an R5 player. I've really only ever done R1s. I just started doing a couple R2s." Got him into the group, and I was like, "Guys, Nimbin, Little Mama, like this guy says he's not an R5 player. What do you think?" And everybody was like, "Yes, you are. You
Yes,
just
you
don't
are.
realize it." And I'm gonna say that to you, Arcat. I think you are an R5 player, and you just haven't realized it yet.
Yeah. Thank you. It's very kind of you, but I'm going to have a different opinion.
That's fair.
Honestly, I really don't think I can do really high skull stuff. I mean, I could probably pike in an old style, R10 Amber Temple, but as far as actually doing the heavy lifting and all that sort of stuff in a high skull, content, that's not me. I just can't do it.
I remember.
I wish you could join us for some of our live streams.
Yeah, you can totally. You should make
You're
a
welcome.
YouTube, because we did an R10 LOD with a guy who not only is disabled, he only has one hand, only one Reaper point, and an R10 LOD at level, and he had some kills. You know what I mean? Like it's possible, but it's not like it's like how would you say? It's possible for lightning to strike twice. You know what I mean? Like it's possible, but it's not common, right? You can do R5s, but not just solo, blindfolded with your ears
Oh,
plugged
I
up.
definitely can do that.
With your arms tied to your back.
Sure.
You can totally do it though.
Well, let's move on.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna wrap up this segment, and we'll come back and figure out how we're gonna finish this discussion. But thanks, guys, for joining me today. Thanks to Nimvin and Voodoo, who are you guys both have YouTube channels. You're twitching, right? Twitch.tv/GingerSpice.
Voodoo Spice.
Voodoo Spice. And you can check out their teaching raids. There's a whole bunch. You guys have, I know, Voodoo, you've got like, what, 500, 600 videos or something like that? A bunch of different
Getting
series.
close to 800 videos.
Oh, my goodness. So a lot of stuff that you can check out there. And thanks also to Arcot for joining me today. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit our website, DDOCast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. You can also find show notes, past shows, and more on our website. You can also find us on social media and follow us latest cast updates at DDOCast on Twitter. If you'd like to join the discussion, leave a comment. Email us, DDOCast@gmail.com. I think the discussion show is going to be a lot of fun. Until next time, may all your attack rolls be crits, all your tests level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to gather for buffs.